Welcome to Food Bank of Central New York's presentation, Assisting Neighbors with Special Dietary Needs, Wheat Allergy, Celiac Disease, and Gluten Intolerance. Before we begin the presentation, I'd like to review the 9 major food allergens using this image from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. The 9 allergens that are required by law to be listed on a food label are milk, eggs, fish, crustacean shellfish, tree nuts, peanuts, wheat, soybeans, sesame. A wheat allergy is when the immune system triggers a hypersensitive response to wheat. The wheat can be inhaled, ingested, or from physical contact. Even the smallest amount of wheat can trigger an allergic reaction. Allergic reactions can range from mild to life-threatening. Individuals with a wheat allergy may be able to eat grains such as barley, rye, and oats, as these grains do not contain wheat. Before we talk about the next slides, which have information on gluten intolerance and celiac disease, I think it's important that we talk about what is gluten. Gluten is a combination of 2 proteins, gliadin and glutenin, and these proteins are found in wheat, barley, and rye. A gluten intolerance, also known as non-celiac gluten sensitivity, is when an individual is sensitive to the protein gluten, which is found in barley, rye, and wheat, as I mentioned in the previous slide. Gluten intolerance is a gastrointestinal problem that causes someone to feel sick after eating foods containing gluten. Symptoms can be similar to celiac disease, but gluten intolerance is not the same as celiac disease. Celiac disease, also known as celiac sprue, or gluten-sensitive enteropathy, and I'll explain enteropathy is a disease of the intestine, and celiac disease does cause inflammation in the small intestine. The celiac disease is an autoimmune disease, and this is where the immune system mistakenly attacks healthy cells. The disease causes inflammation and damages the lining of the small intestine. Individuals with celiac disease must avoid barley, rye, oats, and wheat, and this can be remembered by the acronym BROW. I need to add in here that oats do not contain gluten. The issue with oats is the high risk of cross-contamination from wheat or other grains. When oats are growing in the field, they're often grown very nearby wheat, so they can be contaminated in that perspective. They can also be contaminated when they're processed in the manufacturing plant where other grains are processed. Strict avoidance of gluten is essential for nutritional health. And if someone with celiac disease continues to eat foods in any amount that contain any amount of gluten, this will lead to damage of the small intestine. For an individual who's avoiding wheat or gluten, the foods to avoid would be breads, cereals, baked goods, pasta, any food made with flour, wheat flour, or rye or barley. Soy sauce and plant-based meat alternatives may contain wheat and gluten. Any food that does not state on the label that it is gluten-free or has the initials GF, foods that do not contain wheat or gluten may have been processed in a factory that also processes foods containing wheat or gluten, so an individual would want to most likely stay away from them. Food labeling laws require food allergens to be identified even if they are in very small amounts, but only when they're contained as an ingredient. Manufacturers are not required to include warnings about food allergens accidentally introduced during manufacturing or packaging. This would be cross-contamination. So individuals may need to contact the manufacturer regarding the product to determine the risk of cross-contamination. Manufacturers will often note on their products if they are gluten-free, as you can see from the 3 images below. As you notice, the image in the middle not only states that it's gluten-free, but also that it's dairy, soy, and nut-free. The image in the middle and on the right both also have the certified gluten-free label on their packaging. With food labeling, you can usually find an allergy warning below or near the ingredient list. Looking at the image on the left, the brown label, the manufacturer does note that this item contains milk and wheat, and they also go on to say that it, due to processing on shared equipment, may also contain trace amounts of egg, soy, and tree nuts. The image on the right, the pink label, states that it contains milk, but they go on to also state that it may contain traces of soy, wheat, peanut, cashew, coconut. These two labels are examples where the company has either stated that the product was tested and certified gluten-free, or lets the consumer know that the product was processed in a plant free of allergens. On the left, we can see that these are whole grain oats, and they have been tested and confirmed gluten-free in a quality control laboratory. And the one on the right states that it's processed in a production facility free from the top allergens. It is important that anyone who has allergies or celiac disease or is avoiding certain foods for whatever their personal reasons are, that they read the food label every time to check for an allergen. Food companies may change ingredients in a product at any time without any notification. Foods to focus on for individuals who are avoiding wheat and/or gluten would be fruits and vegetables, dairy, eggs, nuts and seeds, fish and meat with no breading, gluten-free grains like quinoa, rice, and corn, oats with a gluten-free label, and breads and pastas made with gluten-free grains. For more information, the following websites can be very helpful: Kids with Food Allergies, FAIR, the Food Allergy Research and Education Organization, the Mayo Clinic, and the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Disease. Questions can be directed to Food Bank of Central New York's Community Nutrition Manager at 315-437-1899, extension 275.